Well, hey there, kids. Ranger Kevo here. But this time we're doing something a little bit different. Now, I noticed my channel is going in more of an outdoorsy kind of travel vlog direction. And that's just kind of the direction that my actual life is going in at this time. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm still going to try to do the music stuff, still going to try to do the Cancel This podcast as best we can, but schedules just have not been lining up. And I need to make sure I have stuff on the channel. So in that sense, we're going to go with this direction. This podcast does not have a name. It will by the time I upload it. I'm not even sure if it's a podcast yet because that would require structure and direction, and haven't quite figured that out yet. But this is more of just a me sitting here telling you some things that I like about the outdoor world, the world of outdoor recreation, the world of traveling, my experience with it. I do understand that out of the 92 of you guys that we have right now, which is awesome, I dig that. Probably about 17 of you will watch this. But if this is to gain some sort of traction, I want to give you guys a spoiler alert. If you have families or children and you were under the assumption that this is some sort of wholesome nature channel, no, I'm not a wholesome person. I don't say wholesome things. So here's your spoiler warning. 3, 2, 1. Shit, fuck, damn ass, booty balls, whatever. I be cussing and stuff and I be drinking. I'm still the same dude. I just happen to like to find peace in the outdoors. So if you thought this was some sort of wholesome business, get addle. Anyway, to start this thing off, I just kind of want to introduce you to my new journey by letting you know some things that I really enjoy about traveling, specifically road tripping. A lot of this stuff can also spill over into kind of like the backpacking, through hiking community as well. But the very first thing that just brings me joy, these are things that bring me joy and happiness when I am when I'm traveling. The first thing is finding the perfect place to take a shit. And in the outdoor community, the backpacking community specifically, but this also applies to road tripping. This is called a poopertunity. That means that when you see an opportunity to take a shit, you gotta take it because you don't know when the next opportunity is gonna be. Now, in my experience, a great place to take a shit has always been a McDonald's. The worst place is a Sheetz or any sort of truck stop gas station. It's either gonna be super busy, it's gonna be that one guy in there breathing super hard like he's literally shitting a brick. You don't want, but McDonald's, because of its fast food nature, nobody really sits in a McDonald's anymore. So the bathrooms always seem to be pristine. Now, if you're backpacking or something like that, your poopertunity probably looks a little bit different. You could pass an outhouse on the trail. You could just pass a good looking rock or a log and say, hey, this is where it's gotta be for me. But for me, when road tripping specifically, I have not done backpacking yet. I would like to try bike packing first, just so I could cover more ground. But for me, it's a McDonald's or some sort of fast food. No, because not all of them. I tried this shit at that Arby's once and that was still quite unpleasant. We're going to get away from the shit talk. But that's the first one. And none of these are in any particular order. This isn't like a top 10 list. I don't know how to do that. But another thing I love, when you have a long stretch ahead of you, especially if you're making like a true like cross-country road trip and you know that next destination is going to be 4, 5, 6 hours away. When you get up and start driving in the morning, there's no better feeling when you're driving than when you start to see that little green sign with your next destination, it starts to creep under that, that 60-mile mark. Especially when you're out west, there's a big gap in between major cities. And you might just be driving on 2-lane desert highway for hours, seeing nothing. Sometimes the sun's going down. You start to get discouraged. You've listened to every podcast you have on the lineup for that day. Your music's starting to sound annoying to you, but then you see it and you get rejuvenated. You get that second win. You're excited again. Even though when you get there, the first thing you're gonna pull your bags out. You're gonna do the fucking check-in process with the front desk girl who fucking hates the fact that you're there. She doesn't want to be there. She's not even looking up at you. You got your pets with you. You're paying an extra $100, and you're just happy to know that you will be out of the car soon. Your butt's numb. You're exhausted. You want to take a shower. You've got that I've been in the car all day stench, which is just weirder than any other smell. You're just very aware of the smell of your body that you've been trapped with. And that feeling is absolutely spectacular. Now, this goes for, I'll take it back to music, touring artists as well. Sometimes you got a bunch of people in the car with you, and you're just ready to be away from them. You're just ready to be out of this small enclosed box. That's when it really hits. When you see that mile marker start ticking down, when you say, all right, you're leaving from Albuquerque and you're headed to Vegas, and it says 320 miles or whatever it says on there. I think the biggest gap between major cities that I've seen while on the road was like 540 miles. And that is just a discouraging thing to look at, because when you see that mile marker, that means you're going to be on this same road for that amount of time. And you're just going to be weaving in and out of the slow lane. Pass, get back in it. Pass, get back in it. And it's going to feel like you're going nowhere, especially in those flat western states. It seems like the sun stays in the same spot all day, doesn't go down until 10:30 at night, and it can be fucking miserable. But we'll move past that now. We'll move past that. All right. Ooh. Another thing is an unexpected event at your destination. And by unexpected event, I mean that like you stumble across like a festival, a pop-up market, a fair that you just didn't know was happening. You get somewhere and you're driving, you see something on the side of the road. You're like, oh, let's go check that out. That's always kind of nice, because I personally I don't really make plans for activities when I'm doing like a legitimate road trip. And by legitimate road trip, I mean like 5 or more stops in different states. I don't do the planning out of activities. I just kind of like to stumble across things. Sometimes you stumble across just like a small local get together, a drum circle, a little powwow. And then sometimes it's something bigger, like I said, the fairs, the markets, stuff like that, or just some sort of town event that the locals get into that you know nothing about, that you had no plans of being a part of, but now you get to be a part of just by chance. It really gives that whimsical, larger than life feeling that you're looking for when you're doing something like taking a road trip. Or you stumble across like a cool museum that you didn't know about, or you stumble across a roadside attraction that you had no plans of seeing, i.e. Metropolis, Illinois. You're driving, especially coming back to the East Coast, coming through a lot of places. You got to go through that random ass part of Illinois for some reason, and you see that sign for Metropolis, Illinois, and you're like, what? And then you see another sign that says Metropolis, Illinois, home of Superman. Now you get to check it out. You hop out with your boys and you're like, wow, that was a fun little side gig that wasn't in the plans. Ooh, all right. Now here's a big one. And this may go for another video, just of things you have to accept when you're road tripping or backpacking or whatever. But one thing that you have to quickly accept is that sometimes you are just gonna be dirty. Like sometimes you've got to leave because you got an 8-hour drive to the next spot and there's something you want to do. You got to make sure you're there by that certain time. You don't have time to do your hair. You don't have time to shower. Sometimes you got to brush your teeth on the go, but you need to get up, get out, get going. And sometimes you got to go 2 days without showering. And sometimes you're staying somewhere that doesn't have a shower and you're staying at a free campsite or whatever, and you don't have all your amenities. All you can do is do that quick little toothbrush, maybe wipe yourself down, reapply some deodorant the next day. But when you finally get somewhere and you get to take that shower after being dirty, it feels like it was heaven sent. It feels like you've been dirty your whole life, and this is the first time you've gotten to bathe yourself. This feels like I'm a part of an early century excursion and I've just stumbled across a waterfall, and I need to mark this moment to say, wow, this shower in this Super 8 is now named after me. That's how it feels to shower after just being dirty in the car for even 48 hours. That could be being dramatic. I got a flair for that. But let's see what we got next. This one is specific to pet owners, and I'll just slide by this quickly. But finding a hotel or an Airbnb or whatever, KOA, wherever you happen to be staying at, but finding one of these places that does not charge you extra for pets, that is beyond spectacular, because if you do travel with your pets, you know exactly how much that can add up. That's like paying for an extra night at some hotels if it's below a certain price range. Just for tips, most La Quintas, they do not charge for pets. So there's that. And another tip is, if you do have pets and you're going to stay at a KOA, say that you don't and plan to show up late. If you do the late check-in, most of the time, somebody's not going to come around your cabin or whatever to check to see if you have pets after you've already checked in. They just want to make sure you paid. And especially if you're only staying there for like a night, say you don't have pets, show up late, do the after hours check-in. Hope this does not come back to bite me if this gains traction somehow. But boom, word from the less wise to the wiser. Now, back to when I was saying that things get boring in the car after you've been driving for a while. But this one is before you hit that point. But finding the perfect thing to listen to in the car is one of the best feelings. When you say my favorite podcast drops on a Monday, shout out to Word is a Lost podcast, and you got to be on the road and you already planned that, or you say, hey, I'm going to save these before I hit the road, and you just have that lineup of podcasts or that perfect playlist, or your favorite artist has dropped a new album and you're saving it for your road trip. That's a really good feeling, knowing that you have something that is going to occupy, specifically podcasts, something that's going to occupy an hour to an hour and a half to 2 hours of this drive. Back in the day, before the breakup, it was the Joe Budden podcast for me. I used to live and die by the Joe Budden podcast when driving. Like, I was like, this will occupy my drive. Especially, even if I was just driving to work, I would put on the Joe Budden podcast. I'd have it on the way to work and on the way back. And it was good to, because sometimes music can become kind of drone-ish. Like, you just kind of stop hearing it. It just becomes noise. With podcasts, it can kind of, it ebbs and flows. It goes up and down based on, the banter that's going on. And it's just nice knowing that you got that kind of company while you're driving and trying to get to your destination. Ooh. Now, this is specifically for people who are doing interstate travel. But when you get that long 2-lane highway, and when I'm driving in-state and I gotta be somewhere, I don't really love a 2-lane highway because you get stuck behind a truck or 2 trucks and cut you off, whatever. Who knows? It'll block you in. But when you are driving a long distance in between states, when you finally hit that 2-lane highway that says you don't have 90 miles until your next exit or 90 miles until your next switch over or whatever, it is such peace of mind, because when you're driving through cities, you have to constantly be on your toes because you're weaving in and out of traffic. You're getting on this lane here, and then you're getting off on an exit, and then you got to make this turn. But then sometimes the GPS is like, you need to stay left, but it just basically is saying go straight, or they split off to whatever. Once you don't have to deal with the stress of city driving, that is a magnificent feeling, especially when you get that long stretch where it's like you're on this road for 200 miles and you're like, all right, you take the GPS off. You don't have to be watching it. You know that you're good for at least another 2 hours without having to check it or be panicked. You can get off and exit. Just know that you have to get back on the highway if you want to get something to eat or stop for gas or whatever. I just think it's a nice feeling, and I'm sure that other road trippers probably have a similar feeling. This one specifically, if you do any sort of tent camping, hiking, backpacking, bike packing, whatever, but getting to your site, getting all your crap out, and having it set up, and knowing that you're just kind of done for the day is another great feeling. Because I feel like a lot of stress comes from getting to where you're going, making sure you get there on time, making sure you get there, with enough daylight to set your stuff up, making sure you have enough time to kind of relax before you have to wind down immediately. I think that's an underrated piece of it. You always say it's the journey, not the destination, but sometimes that journey is stressful. Sometimes you want to get to the destination because you've already hit 5 destinations before and you just want one day of time to yourself. And on top of that, getting somewhere early with more time to spare than you expected is also a great feeling. That's a little bonus for you. But, holla at your boy. Another one, I see this a lot at campsites, specifically like KOAs and just kind of like public campsites or whatever. But it's just meeting like a dope person, meeting somebody specifically like who just kind of has like that chill, just wandering spirit vibe, where they're just like, you can tell like they don't have any malice towards you. They're not looking at you funny for one reason or another. But just meeting a cool person, somebody who just wants to trade stories, they want to chat with you, and I don't know. I feel like I really do feel like it is that wandering spirit, and I think that it's kind of manifested when you take on something like a massive road trip. Like, I think that's what you're looking for. And to actually find it and sharing that experience with like a stranger is dope. What do we got? We're winding down here. We're getting to the end of this list here. Here is one, too, specifically for people who have undertaken like a different city every day road trip. But that one day that you get to sleep in, sometimes there's somewhere that you're at. There's a location where you decided to stay 2 days, or the next location is close to you. It's only a couple hours away and you get to sleep in for a little bit after you've been on the road for 5-6 days, and you're like finally at a spot where you're not making 8 to 10 hour drives, and you can just kick back, relax, take your time getting dressed. You can shower at night, shower in the morning, brush your teeth, and sit down for breakfast and not be rushed out. You don't have to grab it on the go. You don't have to grab it on the road. You don't have to be up before the sun's up, heading out the door. And that is a very rare occurrence for us when we travel. Simply because a lot of times we don't. First of all, I want to talk about these YouTube couple channels where they've got $40,000 camper vans and all that other bullshit, and they can just stop all willy-nilly. No, it doesn't work like that when you are on like a normal person salary with no fucking trust fund, or you just happen to be the fucking, I don't know. I think they selling feet pictures or something. I don't know how they're affording to just be on the road full time. Anyways, It don't work like that for the rest of us. A lot of us had to cram our travel within some sort of work, paid time off type of experience, or like, hey, I'm taking fucking 2 weeks off work. We need to get as much done as possible. So sometimes we're on a rush schedule. And those days that you actually get to move slowly, sleep in, take your time, enjoy what you're doing, not feel like you have to rush in a bunch of activities on top of each other, those days become super special. That's the best word I can think of for now. Now, the final one for me that I've got on this list is a good meal after a long day of activity. And I mean, specifically, like if you're like, we do a lot of national parks traveling, which means that we do a lot of hiking. And I think that first meal after you already got your 10,000 steps in, plus, and you've been doing a long day of activity, whether you've been hiking, kayaking, whatever, when you've earned those calories, that meal hits different. And the food tastes better, and you appreciate it more. And you sit there and you're with whoever you're with, and you don't even talk to each other. You just eat that food. You just eat that damn food. You just munch away for a good solid 15 minutes. And then you both want to take a nap after because you worked hard, you earned it. You can't wait to get back to your hotel room or wherever you're sleeping that night. And you just chill and you have a beer or something. And you just think about all that good work you did earning those calories. And there's no guilt whatsoever. You don't feel fucking bloated after because your body's actually burning that shit off. That is a top tier feeling. But anyways, if you made it all the way through this video, my name's Ranger Kevo, kids, and leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Tell me how you feel. Tell me what you enjoy about traveling. Tell me if this sounds like stuff that you want to experience. Tell me if you fucking hate this. I'm cool with that too. Till next time.